Hey everyone, this is Judi with JLBCrafts. Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, thank you so much for giving me a try. Today I'm going to show you, I haven't planned a recipe in quite a while, so today we're going to go ahead and do that. It's taken me quite some time, but I finally found a chocolate chip cookie recipe that I am happy with. If you didn't know, I'm keto, so it takes me a while sometimes to find recipes that I like, but this one, after many tries, it got husband approval, so we are finally ready to add this to the recipe book. So I'm just going to grab a recipe sheet, and we're going to talk about variations in this one. So what I've got here, this is a butterscotch toasted pecan version, and this is a salted caramel chocolate chip walnut version. So we're going to talk about variations in this recipe. So the sticker book I grabbed, and you really can use any sticker book to do recipes. I look for a few things. I look for some bullet points and some other things. Especially when I'm baking, I like to put the preheat temperature right at the top, as well as whether any other special instructions that need to be knocked out at the very beginning of the recipe. And in this particular case, it's to line a parchment sheet with to line a cookie sheet with parchment paper. So I'm just looking for a couple of these boxes that are pretty much empty that I can use to write those instructions in. And I think I want to go, to contrast with the pink, I think I want to go with kind of a bluish green theme. So I'm going to start with one box up here under directions, and that's where I'm going to put my preheat temperature. And then I like how this kind of fades to some light blue, so I'm going to grab this one as well, which also has light blue, but that fades to kind of a teal green, and I'm going to offset it over to here. And this is kind of a convention that I've come up with for all of my recipes, so that someday when I pass my recipe book down, there's a convention that the receiver of this recipe book will get used to. The other thing I really like to do with my recipes is use Frixion pens. So I have this set of Frixion pens that I actually got while traveling for work in Japan, but they're kind of a marker tip, and I like writing the titles of my recipes with this. So this is going to be a long one. Keto chocolate chip cookies. No problem. All right. The next thing I like when I pick a book to do recipes is bullet points for the ingredients. And in this particular case, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 with an optional 9th. And I know this book has bullet points, but you know, it also has to-do lists. None of them go up to 9. But there are some fun ones here, and if the spacing is the same, which it looks like it is, so what I'm doing is I'm comparing the spacing of the ingredient lines with the spacing on this check sheet, and they seem to match up, so I can do a little sticker surgery and use some of these. I adjusted the lighting a little bit there. Hopefully you can see a little better what I'm doing. So I want to look for a couple of these that are in this same color scheme, like that one. And I'm going to go ahead and use those. I don't want the one with numbers. Oh, there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 2 of these would be enough. Let's go ahead and start with the blue one, and I'm going to grab a craft knife because I don't need all of those bullet points. So I think what I'll do is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And actually, I think I want to do 4 and 4 because the last ingredient, like I said, is optional. So we can do something special there. So if I do 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, let's use the bottom 4 so we get this little tail. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like this. Hopefully I cut those relatively straight. So we'll start with our top 4. And you don't have to do this. I just, it's Happy Planner, right? We gotta decorate. So there's the top 4. And if we do this for the bottom 4, that should match right up. Awesome. And then I was thinking I could use one of these little thin washi strips, which are all throughout this particular book, to just give a little separation for, there we go. I knew there were some shorter ones, for my optional ingredient, which is toasted nuts. So we'll take this little fun little starred one. There we go. And I want to put a star, and I think I'll use light blue because that's up here, but it's not down here anywhere. So I'm going to use this little light blue star. All right. So, oh, and I'm going to need bullet points for the side here too. So if your recipe doesn't have a lot of instructions, you can get fancy with some boxes. And I actually did a flip through of my entire recipe planner, so you can see that if you want. Some of the recipes I have in there are short enough that I was able to get fancy with some boxes. This one has enough instructions that I think I'm just going to go ahead and use some sort of bullet point to indicate individual steps. And I'm seeing some hearts and some stars. I could use these. Here we go. How about some flags? 2, 4, 6. Yeah, I have enough of those. Okay, so we'll go with those. If I can get them off of there. And we're just going to alternate through the colors. And I think I want to turn them sideways like that. Okay, so I started with black up here, so I'm going to go ahead and use black. And again, this is another Frixion pen. So one thing to note on these, they do work via the heat generated by the friction of using this eraser on the page. So if you leave something that you wrote with a Frixion pen in a hot car on a hot stove top, it is going to disappear. Now you can stick this back into the freezer and that cold will bring the color back, but it's not something you want to do. I use Frixion pens because I tend to need to erase, and I'm just careful that I don't leave anything anywhere where that'll get me into trouble. So I'm going to go ahead and write in the ingredients, and I'll speed this up a little bit. The next thing we're going to do is add some estimates for prep time, serving size, cook time. So prep time on this, and I actually want to, like I said, my convention is to write with the marker down here as well. So my prep time is 10 minutes. My cook time, is about 14 minutes. And this tends to make about 20 cookies. Now, since I'm keto, I usually put in the carb count, but I haven't figured that out yet, so I will have to come back and add that later. But I usually put in approximately how many net. And that's why I use a Frixion. Net carbs, and that would be per cookie. So I'll have to figure that out and add that in. All right, so let's get to the instructions. First thing we're going to do is preheat oven to 350. So if you go back, and I will link this, if you go back and look at my recipes, anytime there's a recipe using the oven, I always put the preheat at the top in a box so it's easy to find. All right, I'm going to go ahead and write in the instructions, and I'm just going to alternate between the colors of these tabs in this blue, dark blue, light blue, aqua colored order for each step. All right, that is the recipe. I like to use the notes section for suggested variations. So in this particular case, or for special instructions, such as toasting the nuts. I highly recommend toasting the nuts. It definitely adds flavor, and it does something absolutely magical to pecans. So I want to add that note. And I know that, but the hope is that this recipe book someday gets passed on to a loved one, and they may not know that. And then one of the variations I want to call out is if you've been to Starbucks and you like, especially during the holiday season, as it is now, you like their Cranberry Bliss Bars, I highly recommend you use, it's roughly half a teaspoon ground ginger, white chips, dried cranberries, and actually let me go ahead and put amounts on here. So we're going to substitute, instead of the 3/4 cup chocolate chips, we would do 3/4 cup white chips, and instead of the 3/4 cup nuts, we would do 3/4 cup dried cranberries, and I'm going to say 1 tablespoon orange zest. One final touch would definitely be to add some decoration. I don't have much room, but I think we could fit in a couple of different things. Maybe, so I have the food book and I have the recipe book. So I'm just going to look for maybe a spatula, a pot holder, a cookie, something, anything that is appropriate. There's a pot holder. There's a mixer, that's a good one, and it's blue. Let's use that one. And I actually think I want to put that up here. Spatula, that's good. getting cookies off the cookie sheet, and it's again blue. It's hard to see on there though. Let's put it down here. I don't know if this one, there's a yum sticker. Let's put yum up here. So you can see you can get pretty elaborate with all this stuff, especially if you have more room. Like I said, this one had quite a bit of instructions, so I didn't have too much room. I think I need I definitely want to put some cookies on here. Oh, there was a whisk. Didn't really use a whisk for this one. Let me grab the food book. Here we go. So I grabbed my food book, the first food book, and I know that there are cookies in here. There they are. And they're even chocolate chip cookies. Perfect. We got to put some of these in here. I've had this book for a while. As you can see, it is falling apart. So we'll definitely put a couple of cookies on here. And I think I'll put one more down here by the spatula. There we go. I like it. There is not much room left on there though. Definitely not much room left. Okay, so let's put it in my recipe book. And there we have it. My recipe for keto chocolate chip cookies with variations. I hope you like this video. I hope it helps get you excited to start trying your own recipe planning. If it does, please consider liking and subscribing. Thank you.